Minimal.
I know that's what I'm saying. It's like 2 cents.
Hey,
a
Lindsay.
You will
You can-
make a lot more friends.
Are you talking to me, Brandy?
Yeah, I was just, oh, your video still isn't showing. Can you don't have the option to share your video yet?
You just
No.
said her
Still says the host has stopped it.
host has stopped her video.
Yeah.
Jonathan, how much longer is your tenure at? Compared to what you're doing, do you know?
For some reason, they have the virtual, person that's gonna be making students, talk.
Yes.
They're not able to share their actually camera.
She can hear you.
Oh,
Oh, really?
yeah, that'll be.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. Is there any announcement?
I know it's very important, but it's kind of like, something I've been working with Ben for a while, so that's actually what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But, so I can make her co-host and that'll give her.
Okay.
Okay, you try and start your camera now.
Normally, how long is?
And Lindsay, you might have to talk because you only show. when you talk.
What'd you say?
Now we can see you. Great.
It's fine?
Yeah, if we can, that'd be perfect. Yep, we can see you well.
Okay.
Spotlight her.
Sure.
That'll spotlight her.
It's not like a one.
Okay. Yeah. we got it here.
Perfect.
But I'm gonna leave for now.
Okay, sounds good. You're gonna be on there whenever you have your video on, so just so you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're all set?
Awesome.
But now I can't see the room.
Oh, if you go into, in the top right hand, you should see gallery view.
Now.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice of you.
Oh,
Fine.
He's not with Oral Vision.
Not anymore, used to be, and but his name is still on some like.
Hello.
He doesn't.
I don't remember.
Can you help me circulate some foundation? Whenever people come in, pass around. Thank you. Bring back questions, right? Yes, I know after talking.
Fine.
How are you looking at the finalists?
I'm still.
See, I almost forgot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
That was a little bit. Like, are they gonna change so much? Yeah.
Right. You do. I can remember Monday doing practice. Right, it's my hand, I have to put my hand. Mine clear off.
Oh, because it's trying to make sense.
Yeah, and it was so loud, I don't know how you were, it's really so. I don't know that. Nice.
Here it is by. That's a- No, I think it's, you must have come in on a short term plan, but I go by the president, something, yeah.
I'm curious about it.
You said.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session, especially after lunch. I know we can often get tired, but hope this session will be interesting to you and there will be plenty of opportunity for you to engage with us and share your experience. So my name is Brandy Shackelford. I work at Living Water International, and I'm joined here today with some colleagues from World Vision. So in the room, we have Dr. Ray Norman. We have Lindsay Lang joining us online, as well as some lovely fellows. So Jonathan, Sydney, and Justine, who are going to be helping us facilitate some of our breakout discussion groups. But the name of our session today is Engaging Faith Actors for WASH Sustainability, Emerging Approaches, Results, and Challenges. So just want to bring you briefly through the agenda for this side event. So we're going to show you 2 different case studies from our organizations. But then, like I said, we're going to do some breakout discussion groups at the end so we can hear from your experiences as well, working and engaging with faith leaders. If you haven't engaged with faith leaders before either, that's totally fine. Well, we still love to hear from you and kind of brainstorm some ways that you could engage them, even if you haven't yet. And then we're going to take a couple minutes to share out some key points at the end. So we have a sign-in sheet going around. So if you would like to get a summary of some of the discussions after the conference, make sure you sign in on that sign-in sheet so we can get in contact with you afterwards. So with that, just want to jump into a very brief introduction of why are we even having this session? So why partner with faith actors in WASH programs? So first, we know an estimated 84% of the global population practices a faith tradition. And this is actually a larger percentage in many rural communities and low and middle income countries. Further, we know faith institutions have a lasting local as well as national presence, which really helps the WASH sector when we are often working in projects that move from one area of the country to the next every couple of years. These faith actors and institutions really have a lasting presence for behavior change and infrastructure O&M. Further, many religious traditions and holy texts have mandates to do things the WASH sector in particular cares about. So first, abide by improved WASH practices. For example, the Quran has some instruction on hand washing and various other aspects of hygiene. Further, some religions have mandates to care for the environment, like the Hindu Dharma talks about protecting watersheds. And then finally, many faith traditions have mandates to care for the poor. So Christianity, Islam, Judaism, to name a few. And there's many, many other examples from local faith traditions as well. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Lindsay to share with us a little bit of World Vision's case study.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Lindsay Lang, and I'm on the WASH team at World Vision International. World Vision is a Christian NGO that operates in nearly 100 countries globally with extensive WASH programming in 42 prioritized countries across 6 regions. Though we're a Christian organization, we serve people of all faith backgrounds. World Vision works primarily in rural communities around the world, most of which, as Brandy already mentioned, are inhabited by people of faith. As such, faith leaders are often trusted and influential leaders in their community. Faith leaders also often have an in-depth understanding of how complex issues impact their community, which puts them in a unique position to play a central role in any solutions. Faith leaders from different traditions also share values, such as helping those in need and addressing injustices that align with our values as an organization. One issue we've faced both at World Vision and as a WASH sector is how to support WASH-related behavior change in the places we work. Across our regions, national offices have tried different strategies to engage faith leaders in WASH behavior change. In West Africa, we've created a model that's being used across different countries in the region, and we'd like to see it scaled to other regions in the future. In West Africa, when we start a WASH program in a new area, World Vision staff meet with the local faith leaders of all traditions, Muslim, Protestant, Catholic, Orthodox, to start building positive relationships and invite them to a 2-day WASH workshop. This workshop is often led or supported by faith leaders from another region who've already participated in a previous workshop, or by other leaders who are more senior in the faith tradition or denomination. The purpose is to strategically train and mobilize faith leaders to influence WASH-related norms in their faith communities and encourage individuals to practice healthy WASH behaviors. At the start of the workshop, participants are briefed on how World Vision implements its WASH programs. Next, they learn about the basic science of hygiene and disease transmission. And then each represented faith group is asked to share their faith's perspectives on WASH behaviors, which are often supported by their holy scriptures, as Brandy said. This last part is especially important in mixed faith settings so that participants from different traditions can see how much they have in common. As a final activity, leaders are divided into groups by location, and together they develop action plans for their community. Some examples of activities in these action plans include faith leaders from various traditions visiting an elementary school together to talk about an aspect of WASH with the pupils, recording radio spots together promoting the importance of hand washing, or working with the community to advocate with municipal or district authorities for better WASH services. The faith leaders who've been through this training might then become leaders in future trainings around the country. Some leaders have also continued to work with us to create tools for other faith leaders, such as sermon outlines or guidance specifically for pastors or for imams. The following video shows a World Vision Faith Leader workshop that was held in Dakar. This particular workshop brought together national level imams and Christian leaders from across West Africa, and they developed together guides and tools to help faith leaders from their respective faith traditions engage in WASH and hygiene promotion. Start the video now, please.
Ce que nous avons en commun, ce sont des communautés que nous servons, que nous sommes appelés à servir. Les communautés pauvres, les communautés défavorisées, les communautés qui souffrent. World Vision's WASH programs play a significant part in World Vision's global effort to enhance the health of the communities it serves, especially child well-being. About 85% of the world's population are religious, and this is especially true in the poor communities where World Vision serves. World Vision is an openly Christian and faith-based organization, puts us in a very unique position to work to engage the community towards lasting behavior change when it comes to issues of water use and sanitation and hygiene performance. Un vrai engagement dans les relations interreligieuses aboutira. Over the past years in the West Africa region, we have begun engaging faith leaders in the communities where our WASH programs are starting up.
J'ai assisté à un atelier de WASH au Mali. J'ai appris l'aide que World Vision peut apporter à la population, aux différentes communautés, dans différents domaines. Et c'était formidable, c'était vraiment intéressant et ça valait la peine.
La première, c'est la rencontre entre les chrétiens et les musulmans. Le deuxième point, ce sont les leaders religieux de deux bords qui se retrouvent. Troisième, pour parler vraiment d'une question très importante dans la vie sociale.
In doing this, we also provide some training on water, sanitation, and hygiene practice, and we're thus able to mobilize them as advocates for hygiene-related behavior change in their own communities.
Si c'est le leader religieux qui se met devant et qui parle de l'hygiène et l'assainissement, la population ou, je peux dire, les fidèles le suivront.
Je me rappelle bien que nous sommes sortis un jour en train de balayer tout le quartier. Et cela est un exemple puissant de ce que lorsque le leader religieux a intégré un principe, il peut le communiquer à la population. Nous sommes ici à Dakar pour parler du WASH. Surtout, il nous a été demandé d'élaborer des argumentaires qui doivent servir à la sensibilisation de nos communautés respectives.
Our primary goal here is really to develop those two major documents. one for the Muslims and one for the Christians. And this is going really to help us for the next 3 days to work together from all over the region to build those materials for advocating in our communities. Les deux documents seront lus comme ça.
Nous allons partir sur les Écritures saintes, soit le Coran ou la Bible. Les chrétiens vont travailler avec la Bible, les musulmans vont travailler avec le Coran. Et ça, en fonction de ça maintenant, les deux groupes vont essayer vraiment de se reconstituer pour voir les communs entre les deux groupes. Et là, on va constituer un document final qui sera pour l'humanité. Vraiment, il est important que vraiment les leaders religieux se retrouvent, partagent les idées, qui va pour l'intérêt, le bien-être de la communauté, qu'on se retrouve travailler ensemble.
Mais par exemple, si on monte une structure, un édifice religieux musulman et chrétien, et que l'eau coule entre les deux.
Moi, je pense qu'il faut mettre un chrétien, musulman, ou bien un chapelet, ou bien un Coran, Bible. Ça, c'est pas bon. Parce que ça, vraiment, il faut mettre quelque chose de naturel qui peut associer vraiment les musulmans à l'humanité.
Donc nous sommes dans la section du fondement théologique. Nous a beaucoup pris du temps parce qu'il faut trouver des versets dans la Bible qui justifient le problème de l'eau, le problème de l'hygiène, les maladies qui sont liées à l'eau lorsqu'elle est polluée, lorsqu'elle n'est pas propre à la consommation, et aussi les différentes maladies qu'on peut trouver dans l'eau.
Je voudrais m'appuyer sur Jean-Baptiste.
En termes de la purification et de la repentance.
Entre nous-mêmes, on a fait beaucoup de partage et on a compris que ça vaut la peine de partager ce qu'on a appris aujourd'hui avec d'autres personnes. Donc ce n'est pas un voyage inutile. C'est un voyage au retour au pays, on doit mettre cela à profit pour aider d'autres personnes.
Il y a des aspects que l'autre a vus et des aspects que l'autre n'a pas vus. Et ensemble, lorsqu'on met le travail ensemble, lorsqu'on compile le travail, lorsqu'on fait la synthèse, on se rend compte que le travail est beaucoup plus riche et beaucoup plus beau. Et qui est ma théologie? C'est la mort de ma théologie là.
Merci à vous tous. C'était fait avec beaucoup de choix et beaucoup de joie et beaucoup d'engagement.
Je ne pensais pas qu'en ces quelques jours, 3 jours, qu'on pouvait élaborer de si grands, de si bons documents.
On a travaillé séparément avec les musulmans dans cet atelier, mais lorsqu'on est revenu ensemble pour présenter le travail, ce travail concorde exactement. C'est les mêmes défis, c'est les mêmes problèmes, c'est les mêmes recommandations de Dieu. Et cela est en soi quelque chose de très enrichissant.
C'est un bon document, c'est un guide pour vraiment le bien-être de la Oumma ou le bien-être de la communauté.
There were some other outcomes that were unexpected that were also encouraging. One was that these faith leaders coming together identified new areas where they can work together.
Un, c'est sur l'apport que nous devons apporter à la femme. Nous allons parler plus le bien-être de l'enfant et les personnes vulnérables.
The comments that so many of the faith leaders presented, that these documents, these resources will save lives in this region of the world.
What really struck me is to see faith leaders saying we cannot wait now to get this document finished and to engage in the communities. These people who represent about closely to 4,000 faith leaders with who we are working in this region.
Il est très important que les leaders religieux de différentes confessions se retrouvent pour travailler ensemble. Parce que le dialogue est très important dans la relation interreligieuse.
Travailler avec les leaders musulmans est pour moi quelque chose d'encourageant et d'enrichissant. C'est vrai, nous sommes différents dans nos pratiques religieuses. Mais comme on dit en anglais, we don't need to be alike, to love alike. Et j'encourage mes collègues pasteurs à s'engager véritablement parce que c'est de la vie de nos enfants et de nos fils et de nos filles qu'il s'agit.
From experiences like this, we've identified a few lessons that can help. Sorry, Brandy, are you ready for me to start again?
Sorry, let me just get back to the slides. 1 second.
Oh, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
From experiences like the one you just saw, we've identified a few lessons that can help other organizations that are interested in working with faith leaders in WASH programming. The first is that it's important to be aware of interfaith, ethnic, or denominational tensions that exist in the communities where you're working. Local staff are usually well aware of these tensions and can help navigate them to avoid any serious problems. At the same time, these tensions shouldn't intimidate us or prevent us from proceeding. Second, it's essential to establish rules of engagement at the beginning of faith leader workshops or other activities in mixed faith settings. It can be helpful to articulate a shared purpose, such as how can we enhance the health of the communities we represent? Remind participants that they're there to focus on what they have in common rather than their differences, and try to avoid controversial topics that might distract from the purpose. Third, there will likely be faith leaders who are skeptical or reluctant to participate. They might be distrustful of the organization or of the other participants. However, if the workshop or other activity is compelling and you take care to avoid any tensions or controversial topics, most faith leaders are eager participants by the end. Faith leaders of different backgrounds discover how much they have in common. They build relationships and develop habits of working together. Fourth, it's important to help the faith leaders to implement their action plans when they return to their communities. Many faith leaders don't have resources available to start up new activities. After all, they are community members themselves. One option is to connect them to local program staff so they can collaborate in their planning, and staff can provide practical support, such as transportation, flip charts, or other materials, or help with scheduling and coordination with other WASH activities going on. Finally, it's critical to engage national level faith leaders early on and get their blessing. When the local level faith leaders are skeptical about participating with your organization, the buy-in of the national leaders can help build legitimacy and trust. These national leaders can also participate in leading these workshops, which shows their commitment to improving child well-being through WASH and encourages other leaders of their faith tradition. Thank you for allowing me to share about World Vision's Interfaith WASH workshops in West Africa. It's been a pleasure being with you today. Next, you'll hear from Living Water about their experience partnering with churches for WASH.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. So as Lindsay said, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Living Water and then some of our learnings as well, working with faith leaders in the context that we work in. So Living Water International is a Christian NGO that implements water, sanitation, and hygiene programs in 17 countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Latin America and the Caribbean. And just like World Vision, we extend assistance to all people, regardless of their religious beliefs, gender identity, race, or ethnicity. In 2018, Living Water developed its current model for mobilizing churches and communities called Flourish. And we have the website up there. It has a lot of resources. And we did this in partnership with Tear Fund, so another international development and relief organization. And based on our first couple of years of learnings from implementing Flourish, our model of partnering with churches on WASH, in 2020, we were able to mobilize quite quickly and actually develop a COVID-19 church response guide within the first couple of months of the pandemic to help educate church leaders about the pandemic so they could spread reliable information in their communities and mobilize volunteers in their communities to help people in need during the pandemic. So I'd love to tell you just a little bit more about the Flourish model. So it's kind of 3 steps. So the first step, we call it envisioning and equipping the church. So what this means is we really build the theological foundation for why churches should care about WASH and engage their communities on WASH. This includes facilitating church envisioning workshops, establishing church mobilization groups, and also building church unity amongst churches in the program area. A lot of churches across the district may have never interacted with each other before. So helping them to strengthen those networks as well. The second step is facilitating church and community coordination. And so through this, we either teach them to engage the local water committee or establish one if there's not one already. and develop a community wash plan alongside community members. And then they start to identify the roles they want to play as a church for their communities and wash, which I'm going to tell you about in the next slide. And that's how they start to actually plan and take action for wash in their communities. So these are the roles that we developed, once again, in partnership with Tier Fund. So the first role that churches can play is the role of a messenger. So these are churches that are sharing wash behavior change messages, maybe in a Sunday service, maybe in home visits, whatever they want it to look like. But they're promoting good wash behavior in their communities. The second role is demonstrators. So these are churches that are actually demonstrating improved wash services at their church for their congregants to use, but hopefully for them to learn from, like how to build a tippy tap, like the church did maybe in their community for their congregation. The third role is implementer. This is my favorite role. And these are churches that actually support households in getting access to sanitation and hygiene services. So, maybe someone in the community doesn't have the physical strength to dig a pit latrine. So church members actually go and help that vulnerable community member dig that latrine. The fourth role is the advocate, and these are churches that speak out to those in authority to express needs for improved wash policies and services. So maybe they're advocating to their local government. We need more water points in this community. And the last role is the guardian. And these churches help communities maintain, monitor, and sustain the gains achieved in improved wash services. So like we talked about in the beginning, these churches are in communities a lot longer than we are. And so really empowering them to be the sustainers of wash in their communities. So I'm about to show you a video so you can hear from a couple of local faith leaders we've worked with. And I'd love for you to think about what roles are they playing. And I'll give you a hint, it's a couple of roles each, so not just one.
Amannya gange nze Nayigaga Monica mbeera Namadi ng'ekyalo omuluka Namadi eggombolola Malongo district Mayuge. Ndi muweereza nkulembera ekkanisa bagiyita Namadi Jubilee Christian Life Church.
My name is from Mosaic Church, a pastor of the Noah Methodist Church, Benga Administrative District, number 1, Liberia.
Nitwa Pasiteri Nshimiyumugaba Jules, nkorera umurimo w'Imana mu karere ka Ruhango, mu murenge wa Bweramana, mu mudugudu wa Kumunyinya mu Rwanda, nkaba nkorera mu itorero ryitwa Itorero ry'Ukwizera Church of Faith in Rwanda.
Living Water nagimanya okutandika 2019 omwezi ogw'omunaana. Bwe baatuyita ne tugenda e Bukatabira ku ssomero ne tusoma. Awo ne bannonda okubeera wash promoter. Kanisa gye nkulembera twasomesebwa ne tukubiriza abantu mu trading center ne tubanga mwali mulimu abantu amaka 15. Tukozesa omukisa guno singa abantu baba bazze bangi mu nkungaana okutuusa ebigambo byabwe eri abakulembeze. Twegatta n'amasinzizo gonna ku kyalo ne twogera eddoboozi limu. Mu nkungaana z'omu kyalo twongera okukubiriza okwogera ku mazzi ne ku by'obuyonjo. Buli mwezi akakiiko k'ab'ebiyonjo ak'ekkanisa katambula nga kabakubiriza okuzikozesa n'okuzirabirira. Ekkanisa yange yasigala esomesa abantu okukozesa tooyi n'okuzirabirira. Amaka bwe gaatereera ne tubayigiriza okusaba amazzi mu Living Water ne bawandiika amabaluwa ne bagatuwa ne tugatwala. Ekkanisa yaffe yasomesa obukiiko bwa mazzi, endabirira n'ensoloza y'essente. Twakubiriza enkiiko mu kyalo engeri y'okusabamu amazzi n'okukuuma zi borehole. Abantu bwe baakola obuyonjo ne tuyita ab'eggombolola n'aba district. Bwe baamala okulambuula ne tufuna amazzi n'obuyonjo ne bweyongera.
Before we went for the workshop, they were able to pump built in our community because there was no proper management and maintenance. They found break down. And the pump was down for a year. And then when I heard that Living Water Family is calling for workshop for pastors, I went there and I learned a lot of things. And from there, I was excited to go back to my community, to work with my community leaders, to see what can we do for the pump to come back to service for the community people. Immediately, I met up with few prominent members who went to meet the chairperson at that time. The plan we carried to him, we presented the plan, and everybody was happy with the plan. Then immediately he listened to us. Immediately a meeting was called. When the meeting was called, after the meeting, the young people of the community, joined us. As I speak to you now, that motor pump is functional now, it functions.
biriya baduhugura ku isuku n'isukura batwigishije byinshi natwe tujya kubitoza abandi. Uruhare tugira mu guhindura imyumvire y'abantu, dufite itsinda ryigisha abantu isuku n'isukura rihoraho, tubatoza gusukura amazi, gusukura imigezi n'ibindi. Ubuvugizi twagize mu kuvugira abaturage, twigeze gusaba amabati yo gusakarira abatishoboye kugira ngo tugere hirya no hino. Ibikorwa dukora mu by'isuku n'isukura mu itorero ryacu, twagerageje kubakira abatishoboye ubwiherero bwiza imiryango 5.
Even though we preach the gospel, but it will not be only the preaching of the gospel, but also do by action. I learned at that workshop, the church need to play a key role in community work and in awareness. And then from there, I was challenged to go back into my community.
Ekyalo kikyuse, balina amazzi era basula mu maka amayonjo. Fenga ekkanisa twali tetumanyi nti tulina amaanyi agasobola okuyamba abantu. Living Water bwe yatukwata ku mukono ne tukola emirimu, abantu bayongera okutukkirizaamu.
Great. See if I can find my notes again. Okay, so a couple learnings on our end from partnering with faith actors. So first, and Lindsay talked about this before as well, but there must be a strong engagement and visioning process over time with leaders for them to see how engaging their communities through WASH can be a part of their mission. So we've seen that some churches are maybe a little bit hesitant at the beginning of the engagement. They may worry that doing WASH activities will divert from church tithing or from evangelism, other priorities they have in the community. And so once again, we really have to build the case for why this should be a part of their mission. Second, we know, some churches have had a historical hesitancy towards women in leadership. And we know as a WASH sector, this can be quite an issue since women are key WASH stakeholders. They're often primary water fetchers in communities. They're the sustainers of household sanitation and hygiene. And so we've seen actually as Living Water encourages women to take on leadership roles in water committees and things like that, churches kind of get more comfortable with the idea of their leadership and might become more accepting of their leadership in other areas of the community. And then finally, Lindsay talked about this one too, but partnership must be adaptable across different contexts and denominations. So even within, the global church, there's a lot of theological differences, and we partner with all types of churches, Protestant churches, Catholic churches, you name it. And so you have to be kind of mindful of those differences, and once again, really work to help create connections between those churches, despite the differences. So before we go to breakout groups, I did just want to share this quote from our partners at Tier Fund, who once again helped us develop the Flourish Guide. And this was a quote from a church leader they worked at in a disaster context in Latin America. And it says, "We were here before the disaster, and we were here during the disaster, and we are here after the disaster. Agencies like yours will come and go, but the church will always be here." All right, so with that, would love to break you guys up. Once again, I know we're not the only ones with experience engaging faith actors, but even if you haven't had experience, would love just to brainstorm with you for a couple minutes. So we're gonna do 4 groups. So kind of imagine the room as quarters. So if you're in, say, the first 4 rows on either side, split up on your sides, and then the back 5 rows split up in the back corners. And we have lovely discussion facilitators who are going to lead the discussions with you all. Yeah, maybe I'll steal a couple people. Yeah, you guys can be grouped here.
We set them off.
My name is Bree Deere.
So you got moved to other groups.
My name is Lauren. I completed a PhD student at I also have some experience in NGO and working in Hangdown. I'll join your group all the time.
Why don't we go around? First question. Let's start again. Your name, your organization, and your role.
I'm Susan Lally. I work for RCI Institute. I am the wonders and I manage project in sanitation program and the East County Western Kenya.
Works 18 countries under the watch.
My name is Bula and in the finance side of life. I work for the Wireless Group with a water engineering company. It doesn't do a lot of wash, but I'm trying to do very much programs and things like that. So I'm very interested in
Okay, so there's really great coming around. Approach to the challenge is level. And so the year of activity with as well, but kind of behavioral scientists working on our behavioral science. How have on our goal your and I've spent a lot of time living this idea of Washburn has been really a lot of faith in the past there and species as well. Work for I work for distribution of water. So really just by theory of that and about 75 different and I get to serve as the over here while I listen to people. Hi everyone, my name is Jean and I work at the Research Institute and the Institute for the Safety Future. And I'm working on Washington.
Okay, let me ask a clarifying question. So when you're saying engaging faith actors as it relates
to being involved in WASH project, leading WASH project, developing WASH, or all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we've got 4 or 5 questions we want to try to go through, and let's just jump right in. We want to hear from.
I think what I would say is
You represent a wide
Is,
range of organizations. So
really learning about that.
we understand your response.
How long that your faith actor has been there
Not
and
all
or active.
implemented, you know, so.
Have they done things like how have they engaged? What has been their
And what's going to do with these?
and just doing a lot of listening and a lot of research about who they are, so that you go in respecting their
Engage faith
their
leaders
place.
in Washington.
I mean, like some
How
communities,
secular organizations.
they've been there so long, some
And
communities have been
faith-based
founded around or
engage
from
those actors.
So
Example,
I think just
you heard
for me,
faith
it's starting with this.
organizations that are Christian organizations. But, you know, we also believe that secular organizations can also be faith actors, but how many they need. So, let's do it first. How have various organizations, the kingdoms, again, NGOs, government, and let's look at things like, you know, the hate, you know, the hate, reading the how to tackle issues of marginal communities. Shift gears and gears here. It's a great time.
So, not just one another, have stuff with that, and then put it in line, or display people, and so like have a, you know, player, and then this can be let's have a lot of on site, identify.
I want to be working at East Africa and Central America and Caribbean, and Iran, Uganda, we're working that too. A lot of healthcare.
I think to add to that,
And we recently started engaging with part of our
everybody
leadership communication.
you say that they know where to go.
I'd like to start out, I wasn't like the big primary on my team, but I.
Yeah.
Big leaders are so influential in communities, and you think about, like, aligning with those values, like, there's so many things that we included in that definition, but you talk about, like, okay, if you value protecting the neighbor, loving the neighbor, there's like a lot of, like, this is a way that you love your neighbor, building, like, by, preventing COVID or whatever. But, yeah, I think it's one of those deeper motivations, and engaging with communities, like, a great. Yeah, I think it's great, and that started that process, so. It'll be kind of at the end of the point, but that they can happen to.
I think one of the things we did
was like motivation that just connecting some of them, this is good for health, doesn't have necessarily.
With resources within the country.
And you said that was technical resources,
No, sorry, that's. there's, I feel like we're expanding into community settings, and so that's, I don't know, like, that space. And we're doing similar stuff, and like, resources within the community.
I found that they involved with it, because they have been disappeared.
We are not space urgent, but we can engage with those partners because they are from the community leaders.
The Hungary, I think it depends on the context, many countries. But when they first started listening, like that was one of our core values, experience or ability. So that's huge. I mean, like that slide about the church, they last a lot longer than NGO. We really find local leaders. For WASH specifically, we build like on WASH committees, women, men, whether they're particularly over time, but big leaders. A lot of these contexts. And then like to share about relationships. We kind of said that a lot during all of our work. Relation with, and that's the core value of we specifically target churches in our work, and I'll have to look at that. But I know it's built into our natural soul DNA, treating all people with dignity. We whole wide unity.
That's what that briefly got power. I'll second it. And faith-based organization. Engaged, made way. We will engage.
You do it all.
And I'll get like.
You know, and this organization have a either wanting to and not coming in that.
I mean, the listening and the respect and the building relationship, all of those things go into all of that. Especially is with the faith in you.
Yeah.
Like, relationship with them and to whether it's policy, impacting policy, because the way I always describe congregations are, I think of one singular congregation, think about it, in the congregation, you have physicians and attorneys and doctors, and you have all these abilities that are inside the congregation, and so when it comes to policy, you have some really natural leaders in the congregation, and they may not want to necessarily be involved with in Washington per se, and like with Habitat, maybe building it or helping to build the house. But if you say, hey, can you talk to the local representative, they may already know. And write this email and get 10 more people to send this email or send this tweet. That's something like that. So it empowers them to get something done, but it doesn't take a lot of time. And then over time, now you're building advocacy because they learn the language and they invested in why this is important. And it's important to know that you have this whole other. And you don't necessarily have to go to the Zoom. They're empowered to information about those. Positioning.
Yeah, that's really like churches.
Might not be.
So I was just talking about rest there and trying to distribute all their kids. A lot of our staff actually doing that. So it's good. We're rely on faith leaders in the community that know who's the most vulnerable. So then it's like distribute. So they brought that.
country now, country leaders from the perspective of not encouraging that. That country that's more cultural than. Also, like even in.
Yeah, in fact, that
So, for example,
That also makes it relevant. With some of the things that they want to know.
It was often like, yeah, in our house, and we were like, they were filming events, but until the last any model talk about. All right. But it's just. And they, those events are China in there, you know, where you know, it's pretty hard to.
What's the challenges that you face? Your work workshops
They don't China gets them in that company.
China works here, but
It's a. Transportation. Just like they've been targeted.
even those women are not necessarily considered officially. Leaders. There are leaders who are doing
Is that desired?
Good. All right, let's move on. Next question.
I think the second.
How does non-information how they organizations pay that from
Seven for faith or. Donors think that's what we're doing, if they like that, or don't like that, or other. So.
non-implementing organization. How might they get information to support Facebook?
Real risk that, run into when you start engaging with faith more. And the final one is, I think there's a possibility that you bring in force, power dynamic, and way around gender.
One program that engage trade.
And sometimes,
There's a lot of things. Transport.
You should have avoided.
You have a box there.
very common challenge. So that's been really important.
Well, there's a huge gap in that. We have a lot of. We have a lot of.
Yeah.
Qualitative information.
Yeah.
Then, getting the data.
Communication and when churches will raise donations.
Say you have data that. Elementary age children are now watching that more regularly. What changed their minds? Was it their school years? Was it their faith years? Was it?
How we address that is, so one thing that I have learned the most is make sure you really, even if you have to go around the community and walk it, so that you're making sure you don't miss any house of faith. Big, small, in between. That way, you don't offend. Okay, so, because they may give you a list, but that list may not. So you want to make sure that. As far as whether it's formalizing it or not, we have one great piece that's actually formalizing. What we did is we workshopped to formalize all of the entities have a representative. We workshopped it together to figure out what are gonna be the top 3 priorities, or what is this gonna look like, and what it's, so it takes a lot of time.
I had an
But
interesting conversation
on
on
the
Friday
other
with
hand,
different
the
organizations.
program's
to
still
try
going on
using
today, so.
pastors as a numerator.
The community has now.
Partners. And I think it was actually, he suggested maybe don't use the pastor, but other people from the church, because it's really hard to get.
The thing about being
Other
organic,
people when you're the pastor, the
that I found is that.
Like you can still mobilize members, so maybe you'll actually focus on
That
the
you
leaders.
how do you know where
Focus on other.
I mean, you know, some of the.
I thought that was an interesting learning they had.
You know, some.
We have to remember.
All developed.
You know, for all of us, not all faith leaders are perfect. In fact, in some places, faith leaders are the source. You know, sometimes we have to work on dealing with the educated faith leaders so that they're not that. Some of them can hold on. There's its own.
Well, anybody have experiences, or you have maybe ideas? Yeah. That way it was kind of invested. Engaging with the project.
Like this program, like what? Help our students are like. Somebody who has to go like that. And really. Know what that.
When you're.
We just really thought we needed to there's more gender balance, giving more leadership roles in the current organization, we'll start there. So that's already, and I was surprised that it moved on. I think we.
Question number 3. How does faith engagement, how does engagement with faith actors within different contexts? So, with engaging faith actors in West
Stafford
Africa,
Hungary is the same way.
we're different with engaging.
They have to serve that too.
Yeah.
We have a
Faith actors.
do no harm framework that we just prioritize.
Indeed. You know, geographically.
Every country office, every project, every proposal.
And, you know.
Any
what about
activity, it's always run through that.
You know, it's mixed faith units where
You
you
don't have
have.
to just assume there's always the balance.
Muslims being the same gender or Christians and Muslims in the same community.
We're not aware of.
I'm going to get what's more out of them.
You know, maybe not, maybe that's been honest there.
I mean, would you say something like this in the video? One of my with groups that are involved in community, that work.
And so now what is their their power and balance? Do you see it right away? So let's say there's some particular resources and are then now access through a particular congregation or what have you. That you're partnering with and they have the gender power. And that's the one to me that is really hard. Because sometimes it's not just that particular congregation, but it's that culture. And so that's the one to me that's the hard, I'm really hard. As a culture. And in the faith community, anyway, it's out balance too. So as far as pastors and that kind of stuff, because there's way more men typically than there are women. I was me, I'm a minister, but I don't believe that we. So you might want to announce that some places, other places didn't have that on the down because they're not gonna accept you. And then there's others that, I think they have their. And so. You can't do that. So there's all those power dynamics.
Well, one of the, let's say, secrets, one of the things we have. Those who are the in-laws were being in-law. Cindy was there. We've already engaged that years before, so they will receive those applicants. Well, sorry, we thought we were the Association of Protestant Churches for all of Nigeria. The president. If you had tried to organize a workshop like that, mid-level or local level, start attacking documents, theological issues, that would be very good. Actually leads them to if they wouldn't have to account for things.
And I think, how would you, like, they know we prioritize relationships with all men. I've been meeting with all. Have all of them.
It takes time, it takes time, but it's part of the process from the very beginning, because when we go into new areas. Wash is usually one of the first points in the show. You know, that's what people want.
Yeah.
So we're here to help and work with you, what are your needs, you know, one starts right at the top. We also try to engage faith at the very beginning. And we start with the national leaders. We invite them for workshops, and then we train them to be trainers. right at the very beginning, often as I said. So
They're electrically and.
you can't show me some act off. You gotta think about it. Like, well, the common, I contact the people as a Christian organization. What is this? July subdivision on the house? Yeah. But the other thing is.
Narrowly.
You don't need to engage them, just
They're trying to.
tell them to form them.
Right.
You engage them to mobilize. It's leadership of action. Right? You don't want to sit there and you just tell them all the things you do. Facilitate their mobilization. Here's an area where you can have an impact. If you take them, then they buy it. You know what we have? About 10. Okay. So I'm not sure, but I sure hope you're taking some notes.
Okay, sounds good.
So, what about challenge? Have any of you either first hand or second hand, heard of challenging for working with IDPs? What would you imagine some challenges?
We'll love your job. Yeah.
That's certainly very.
You touched on it in the first session. And that part of it is. I'd be very positive here. Just again, not that national and that whole thing. It's like the different when you want to look at like one stage or some of these are like more than many of them. I think that it's hard to say when it's there. It would be really manly. Like, well, it's so how do you how do you approach this?
You know, Mark, from the. With the borders, this was done. Long term, in all of Mauritania, 20 years. And, but he just passed away. His child passed away. The president of the Lovers, the new one.
The one place I think that
was the man in the yellow outfit.
successful being
Mauritania would actually
have
bar
congregation and
religious.
sometimes they're connected with projects around water sanitation. Because then you can.
Let's talk about some of the challenges. So
We actually have a fund
let's start
where they actually
where there is no interface, where there's.
explain how this, every how it works. The communication Water standards in high, making sure that the supplies that they need. Then those same children, they belong to and then the youth, they're doing things and different things around parks. And then that on the radio, and then the children go home and they teach their adult. So it's like this whole. Have buy-in, right? Then, so now the home, the household is hearing it from both sides, right? So it reinforces it itself. So it takes a lot of actors working together, but it reinforces it. So now you have the little kids. One of the ways that we when we did assessment in the beginning to find out, you know, like how many were impacted by water. So, and then a year later, it has changed. So there's how we decrease in number of doctors.
What's fair?
Stomach issues or intestinal
And be transparent.
or girls are taking school on the basis because now their attendance levels have changed. Because now it's just providing and they actually properly take care of.
No, we just, we never pay cash for anything, you know, we'll be trying to provide them with
Those are the way, and with that project, now they're actually. Working with them to develop actually standardized wash, standards for that particular area. And putting money in there. So it kind of went like this. It was, it all worked out, but I would say that best.
Like individual.
But again, it's not just.
If you were an FTE administrator, like that's the reason, like modeling them. Like, do they have system in place? Like, I don't know, like in school or in cities, there's like a job by people that have roles around, and then in a space setting or no space, and maybe not. So how do you maintain that? The demonstrator.
Yeah, and we do establish like wash committees out of churches and things like that, but that ties into a challenge I was thinking about, which is just tangibly, a lot of these, you know, faith-based organizations and communities have very little resources. Like maybe they have one paid pastor, you know, and so you have to be quite careful on how burden you're asking them to take that. And how, yeah, you empower them if it's not financially.
Maybe not so much so on that.
Kind of the balance of that.
The research side, but at least on the
Yeah, we try to encourage them to establish boundaries, but any kind of structures, how there's always three of them. You know, it's not a good present.
Document and so maybe we'll have you know,
About 2 more minutes, if you can start to wrap up conversations.
We have someone else do it, so we started right.
So, yeah, as they say.
Document, because you see, all of us is like, especially.
Yeah, very careful about that.
What's going on in the,
Because it's very easy to look at.
you know, all over the world, but we
Thank you.
usually have
Thank
this
you to.
qualitative data, right? But.
You know, to
Then we're on to, you know, something else, and that's.
all groups.
So that's been one of the things we've been trying to be intentional about.
Yeah, I'm very good.
Capturing what is going on in the field in like 1 or 2.
Rather than the Christian.
Collaborating with other organizations like WHO, UNICEF, so like, so you're bringing this.
So they have
all these different
back
aspects and it's around the same topic.
having them
And
share.
so that way even,
Is a very, very powerful thing. I started playing with it. It's an interesting council. And maybe it was stuff we would do. And it was a senior Christian, Protestant leader, Catholic leader, Orthodox leader. Muslim actually, forward. Especially from Washington, and this is pretty. And when it was all over, I went to the Orthodox priest, very elderly. I said, "Oh, very good." Has that, does it really have an impact? Really have. Each one of them figuring out and spending them because they would do that every quarter. Plan actions that,
But with.
and every time he was definitely much to have the
municipalities.
and
What we did.
we did is embraced it. He was speaking, hearing the surveys. He said, you know, for years, I'm talking about dinosaurs and ones that made it. He said, I really never understood. I joined and now, originally, he said,
Yeah.
now I know how.
It was a good way to. Yeah, in fact,
English forward, big, you know, city. Watch trees and racing,
sending it to everyone.
all.
All the different entities.
So I think those stories, I mean, especially coming from the leadership. There's something of the best advocates for mobilizing. Local. I'm sure hoping to get some.
Perfect, thanks for participating.
So we're gonna take a couple minutes for each group to share back, kind of some highlights of your discussion.
I read the part.
So maybe we can start with the back right group. If you'd be willing to take maybe about 3 minutes to share some of your discussion points.
From here.
We don't have an online audience, so you don't need a mic.
Okay. Yeah, I think we had a good discussion. We started off talking a lot about, the challenges and importance of working in female, community members and the female population in a lot of these conversations. They can be really difficult. You know, faith leaders in a lot of faiths being mostly male and how important that is to get involved and how that's a big consideration, but also a pretty significant challenge. Just in the long run, how do you get them involved in these conversations and how do you get there on a evening basis? How it's such an important thing, contextual, how working with faith communities is like so important no matter where you go into, but how it's also, you know, you just assume that you do it because it works, but then how do you measure it? How do you actually tell how well it works? And all of the denominational differences, the interfaith differences, how challenging they can be, how important it is to go through it. So I think those were really interesting conversations and how I think something interesting was it's like faith can be a very good way to create relationships, but then you also need technical training and information and knowledge to come in and also that something just survive on that and how it's a long-term relationship, but like a goal can be really unified. So a single goal of helping to correct something or bring water to a community can really bring people together, but then also use that as an opportunity to build a long-term relationship. So yeah, and there's a lot of good points, but those are kind of two good ones.
Awesome, thank Thank you so much. I might jump over here to Sydney.
Thanks. Well, we really talked about a lot in our group. So I'll just name a couple of the approaches that we talked about. I think something that was emphasized in pretty much everything that everybody shared was really starting with listening and respecting the role of faith actors in the community and approaching it with humility. Some people share that they have certain like frameworks or documents in their organizations that they use for this, and just really devoting so much time to building those relationships before starting implementation. We also brought up that a lot of religious institutions are places of refuge for displaced people, and that's usually a faith meeting point. So that can be another really great way to engage with faith actors in the community. And then kind of shifting away from the implementation side, we talked about how you can use faith actors for advocacy and policy work, and how tapping into the congregations at a lot of these institutions can be a really great way to do that. There's so much skill and experience and connections just in the congregation itself. And then I think they had a really interesting conversation about challenges. So I'm just gonna read a couple of them. Like how much do we plan our approach and how much do we just kind of let it be an organic relationship was something that we discussed. Kind of the perceptions of the religious obligation to receiving things from institutions. So I think a lot of people experienced potential donors or other institutions thinking like, oh, if we're coming into this community and we're bringing them washed resources, like, are we expecting them to, you know, convert or evangelize or something like that? It's kind of an issue that a lot of people face. And then another really key one was how do we not overburden faith actors? Just because they are a great resource for us, how do we not put so much more on their plates and ask them to do too many things? And then one that we had that we were hoping to ask either for Lindsay or for you as well, Brandy, how do we communicate the evidence of impact in engaging with faith actors? I'm curious if you have more information about this, especially with the Flourish model that you shared. I think we were discussing kind of the difficulties of having that evidence, but also if we have any to share at the moment.
Great. Yeah, we had a similar discussion that it's really tough. And I don't think there is a very strong evidence base, although it's building. For example, we monitor a lot of the church activities for Living Water based on those roles and see, you know, how the roles they take on change over time and things like that. But obviously impact is a different discussion than that. So I think that's something both organizations I know have talked about. We're working actively, but it's hard to know, yeah, what is the impact of a faith leader specifically versus other activities we're doing in the same communities a lot of the time. So if others have experiences, I'd love to chat with you after. Thanks so much. All right, I'll go to Justine's group and back.
Sure. And please feel free to jump in who was with me if I missed anything. But I think we had a really interesting discussion here regarding the implementing versus not implementing organizations. Someone brought up that the implementing groups already having kind of on the ground connections would be an advantage. A researcher kind of coming in might be a little more challenging to form those connections. We talked about the advantages of using faith leaders for dissemination of guidelines, as well as for rapid response, as you mentioned in your talk. They have a long-standing presence within the community, and so they can be leveraged for rapid response in emergency settings. I think maybe the perfect setting was brought up, and then also the Ebola response was brought up as examples. I think there was a bit of a re-emphasis both in the beginning and at the end of engaging faith leaders as one tool in a larger toolbox, and the importance of engaging all leaders and not kind of narrowing prematurely and you know, as a strategy. And then we talked about the challenge of sometimes for a lot of faith leaders and communities, there might be a legacy of trust, but in some other contexts, there might be a legacy of mistrust or distrust, depending on the context. So I think an interesting question to kind of pose to a larger group is whether or not people have had experience kind of differentiating between contexts where they have had great leaders versus they've had, you know, there's good leaders and bad leaders, and that's true for faith leaders as well. So how do you kind of navigate that with sensitivity? And then, yeah, and I think as Greg said, it was a bit more of an art than a science. I'm really interested to hear others as well. And then some remaining questions, as always. Measurement of impact was brought up already. Some drawbacks. There was
somebody noted that, this might be a bit of a self-selected group of people who are interested in this topic, so, it'd be interesting to hear if there are any drawbacks that came up, and then also maybe this is a topic we take to the one group and see if people share throughout the week. And then also a question about faith leader turnover. So how is that sort of managed, and if there's any insights on that? Did I?
Awesome, thanks so much. And then in Ray's group, we had a lot of the same discussion items that other groups had, but we talked about with faith-based organizations, the importance on finding commonalities and values alignment and motivations when you're working with faith leaders, and the importance of starting with national leaders first. So that when you go to work with district and local community leaders, they already have the buy-in from their seniors. And so I thought that was quite insightful. Second, talked about how that it might look a little bit different for secular organizations. I think a lot of secular organizations are really intimidated on how to engage faith leaders, kind of like Justine's group was talking about. But some folks are talking about, the importance of coming in with humility, whether you're a faith-based organization or a secular organization. When you come into communities, coming as a learner first. And if you are a secular organization, trying to find faith-based organizations maybe to partner with and to learn from. And the importance of also for faith-based or secular organizations of finding champions within communities and kind of using trainers approaches. We talked a little bit about research and how there are some data gaps and how we might engage faith leaders to help identify some research questions for their own communities. How they might even be able to mobilize some people in their communities to help with things like enumeration, and providing some accountability mechanisms to faith leaders too after training and follow up. And that there is a lot of qualitative data, we should say, when we're talking about impact measurement. There's a lot of qualitative data, but kind of still working on how to gather that quantitative data to substantiate it as well. We also talked about, we could learn from other sectors on this. I think Avni was talking about the case of India and polio vaccination and how faith leaders were engaged in that process. And so the importance for the WASH sector to look outside ourselves and learn from others. We also talked about, like others, how to engage women who often have very informal roles in local faith congregations or communities. And specifically some very tangible challenges of things like childcare. Like if you do a training, do you provide childcare for the women who come? And then we also talked about, turnover and that maybe sometimes faith organizations only have a couple of paid staff. And so like Sydney's group, don't want to overburden them with too many responsibilities. And then finally, the last challenge we talked about was ethnic and interfaith conflicts and, not wanting to breed any sort of competition between faith leaders. And especially if you are a faith-based organization, making sure you're not showing any favoritism to the group that you align with as far as identity goes. So very much appreciate hearing the feedback from the breakout sessions. Like I said before, please sign in on a sheet if you haven't already, if you'd love to get a summary after. We're going to try to type up just a couple pages from the different breakout groups. And if you want to learn more information about either organization, we have the Flores Toolkit here and then 2 email addresses here as well. So just want to thank everyone for coming to the session and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks so much. Don't forget to sign
Yeah.
Thank you.